The stars had always been quiet. For 300 years, humanity had traveled among them, meeting other species, trading goods, and learning about the galaxy. They were the youngest species in the Galactic Council, and many older races looked at them like children who had just learned to walk. Commander Junho stood at the large window of Earth's orbital station. He was a tall man with tired eyes and gray hair at his temples. Behind him, dozens of officers worked at their stations, monitoring the ships that came and went from Earth every day. It was a normal morning. The coffee in his hand was warm. The sun was rising over the Pacific Ocean far below. Then the alarm started. It was not a normal alarm. This was the deep, low sound that meant something very bad was happening. Junho turned around and saw every screen in the command center turn red. "What is it?" he asked. A young officer named Duri looked up from her screen. Her face was pale. "Sir, we are receiving an emergency message from the Galactic Council. Priority 1. Priority 1 meant danger. Real danger." "Put it through," Junho said. The main screen flickered and a face appeared. It was Ambassador Krill, a tall being with blue skin and 4 eyes. Junho had met him many times at council meetings. Krill was usually calm and spoke slowly. But today, his 4 eyes were wide with fear. "This message goes to all member species," Krill said. His voice was shaking. "The devouring fleet has been detected in Sector 7. They will reach inhabited space in 96 hours. All species are ordered to evacuate immediately. I repeat, evacuate immediately. May the stars protect you all." The screen went black. The command center was silent. Junho could hear his own heartbeat. The devouring fleet. He had heard stories about them. Everyone had. They were an ancient enemy that appeared every few thousand years. They did not talk. They did not negotiate. They simply destroyed everything in their path and moved on. "Sir," Duri said quietly, "the other species are already moving. Look." She put the sensor data on the main screen. Junho watched as thousands of ships began to leave their planets. The Valari, with their beautiful crystal ships. The Groth, with their massive carrier vessels. The Nyx, small and fast, running away in swarms. Everyone was leaving. "Where are they going?" Junho asked. "The Outer Rim," another officer said. "There are empty systems there. They will hide until the fleet passes." Junho nodded slowly. It made sense. Run and hide. Wait for the storm to pass. The devouring fleet was too powerful to fight. Everyone knew that. But then he thought about Earth. 8 billion people. Cities full of families. Children going to school. Old people sitting in parks. They could not all fit on ships. They could not all run away. "How many people can we evacuate?" he asked. The room was quiet. Finally, an officer named Taiho spoke. "Maybe 2 million, sir. If we use every ship we have. 2 million out of 8 billion. That was nothing. Junho closed his eyes. He thought about his daughter Sora, who was 12 years old and loved to paint pictures of space. He thought about his wife, Gina, who was a doctor in Seoul. He thought about all the people who would be left behind. "Get me Admiral Yuna," he said. 10 minutes later. Admiral Yuna's face appeared on the screen. She was an old woman with white hair and sharp eyes. She had served in the military for 40 years and had fought in 3 wars. Nothing scared her. "I heard the message," she said before Junho could speak. "The council wants us to run." "Yes, Admiral. And can we run? Can we save everyone?" Junho shook his head. "No, Admiral. We can save 2 million at most." Yuna was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was hard like steel. "Then we do not run. Admiral?" "You heard me, Commander. We do not run. We stay and fight." Junho felt his heart beating faster. "Admiral, The devouring fleet has destroyed hundreds of civilizations. No one has ever defeated them. No one has ever tried, Una said. Every species runs. Every time. For thousands of years, everyone just runs away and hopes the fleet will pass them by. But what if someone stood and fought? What if someone showed them that we are not easy food? We could all die, Junho said. We will all die anyway if we try to run and fail, Una replied. At least this way, we die with honor. And maybe, just maybe, we give them a fight they will never forget. Junho looked around the command center. Every officer was watching him. He saw fear in their eyes, but he also saw something else. He saw hope. He saw determination. What do you need from us? He asked. Una smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a warrior who had made peace with death. Everything, she said. I need everything. Every ship, every weapon, every person who can fight. We have 96 hours to prepare for war. The Galactic Council will not help us, Junho said. They are all running away. I know, Una said. Let them run. Let them hide in the darkness at the edge of the galaxy. When this is over, they will know what humanity is made of. She ended the call. Junho stood in the silence, feeling the weight of what was about to happen. In 96 hours, the devouring fleet would arrive, and humanity would be waiting for them. He turned to his officers. You heard the Admiral. Send the word to every ship, every station, every military base on Earth. We are not running. We are not hiding. We are going to fight. Dury looked at him with wide eyes. Sir, do you really think we can win? Junho thought about his daughter again. He thought about her smile and her paintings and her dreams of traveling to distant stars. He would fight for her. He would fight for all of them. I do not know if we can win, he said honestly, but I know that we cannot run. This is our home. This is the only home we have. And if we die, we will die defending it. The officers nodded. One by one, they turned back to their stations and began to work. Messages went out across the solar system. Ships changed course. Soldiers prepared their weapons. Far away, in the darkness of space, the devouring fleet moved closer. They had destroyed many worlds. They expected this one to be the same. They were wrong. The news spread across Earth in minutes. Every screen, every radio, every phone carried the same message. An enemy was coming. There was no escape. Humanity would stand and fight. Some people cried. Some people prayed. Some people held their families close and waited for the end. But most people did something else. They got to work. In the shipyards of Korea, a man named Minho stood in front of a cargo ship called the Blue Star. It was an old ship, meant for carrying food and supplies between planets. It had no weapons. It had thin walls. It was not made for war. We have 72 hours, Minho said to his team. In that time, we need to turn this ship into something that can fight. His team looked at the Blue Star with doubt in their eyes. There were 20 of them, all engineers who had spent their lives building things. Now they had to become something different. Now they had to build weapons of war. How? Asked a young woman named Yumbi. This ship cannot hold heavy guns. The frame is too weak. Minho walked around the ship, looking at every part of it. He touched the metal walls. He studied the engine. He thought about every ship he had ever built and every problem he had ever solved. We do not need heavy guns, he said finally. We need to be smart. Look at this cargo hold. It is very big. We can fill it with missiles. Small ones. Hundreds of them. The ship becomes a missile carrier. But the walls are thin, Yumbi said. One hit and we are dead. Then we do not get hit, Minho replied. We stay far away and fire our missiles. When they are gone, we run. It was not a perfect plan, but it was a plan. The team began to work. All across Earth, similar scenes were happening. In Japan, old battleships were pulled out of museums and fitted with new engines. In America, passenger planes were converted to carry bombs. In Russia, mining ships were armed with drills that could cut through metal. Every country gave what it had. Admiral Yuna watched all of this from her command center in Seoul. Reports came in every hour. Ships were being modified. Soldiers were being trained. Weapons were being built. But it was not enough. It was never enough. "We have 300 warships," her assistant, a young man named Dowan, told her, "and about 2,000 converted civilian ships. Against the devouring fleet, it is nothing. What do we know about the enemy?" Yuna asked Dow and pulled up the data on his screen. "Not much. The Galactic Council has records from previous attacks. The fleet has about 10,000 ships. Their weapons use some kind of energy beam that can cut through any shield. Their ships are fast and they do not stop until everything is destroyed. Any weaknesses? None that anyone has found." Yuna leaned back in her chair and closed her eyes. 10,000 ships against their 3,000. Energy weapons that no one could block. An enemy that had never been defeated. The odds were impossible, but Yuna had learned something in her 40 years of service. Odds meant nothing when people fought for their homes. Numbers meant nothing when soldiers believed in their cause. "Tell me about our people," she said. Dow and looked confused. "Our people, Admiral?" "Yes. Tell me about the pilots, the soldiers, the engineers. Tell me who is fighting for us." Dowan thought for a moment. "Well, there is Captain Taeyong. He's one of our best pilots. He has never lost a battle." "Good. Who else?" "Lieutenant Sunho. He commands the defense fleet around Earth. His soldiers would die for him." "And on the ground?" "General Nari. She has been preparing the ground defenses for 2 days without sleep. The soldiers call her the Iron Lady." Yuna nodded slowly. "These are the people who will save us. Not ships. Not weapons. People." In another part of the city, a woman named Hana stood in front of 500 civilians. They were not soldiers. They were teachers, doctors, farmers, and shop owners. 2 days ago, they had normal lives. Now they were going to learn how to fly fighter ships. "I will be honest with you," Hana said. Her voice was calm but firm. "Most of you will die in this battle. The enemy is stronger than us. They have more ships. They have better weapons. If you want to leave now, no one will blame you." No one moved. A young man in the front row raised his hand. "My name is Siok. I am a bus driver. I have never flown anything in my life. But my children are on Earth. My parents are on Earth. I am not leaving." Others nodded. An old woman spoke up. "I am Bora. I am 63 years old. I thought my flying days were over. But if you need me, I will fly." Hannah felt tears in her eyes, but she did not let them fall. "Then let us begin. We have 48 hours to turn you into pilots." The training was hard. Many people failed at first. The ships were complicated. The controls were confusing. Some people got sick from the movement. Some people were too scared to fly fast. But slowly, they learned. Hannah taught them everything she knew. She showed them how to fly in formation. She showed them how to dodge enemy fire. She showed them how to aim their weapons. Remember, she told them on the last day, you do not need to be the best. You just need to be brave. Stay together, protect each other, and never give up. On the morning of the third day, Minho stood in front of the blue star. It looked different now. Missile tubes covered its sides. New armor protected the engine. It was still an old cargo ship, but now it was a weapon. "We did it," Yunbi said, standing beside him. I did not think we could, but we did. Minho nodded. He was tired. He had not slept in 3 days. But he felt proud. They had done something impossible. All across Earth, people were finishing their preparations. Ships were ready. Soldiers were ready. Civilians had become warriors. Children had been moved to underground shelters. The old and sick were hidden in deep bunkers. Everything that could be done had been done. Admiral Una stood at her window and looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there, the devouring fleet was getting closer. In a few hours, they would arrive. And then the battle would begin. She thought about all the species that had run away. The Valari, the Groth, the Nyx, and hundreds of others. They were hiding now, far from danger, waiting to see what would happen. Let them watch, Una thought. Let them see what humans can do. She turned to Dowan. Send a message to all our ships. Tell them we are ready. Tell them to hold their positions and wait for my command. Yes, Admiral. What should the message say? Una thought for a moment. Then she spoke the words that would be remembered for 1,000 years. Tell them this: we are the children of Earth. We do not run. We do not hide. We fight. And today, we show the galaxy what that means. The message went out. Every ship, every soldier, every pilot heard it. And in that moment, 8 billion hearts beat as one. They were ready. They came out of the darkness like a wave of death. Captain Taeyong saw them first. He was flying at the edge of the solar system with his squadron of 50 ships. Their job was simple: watch for the enemy and report back. No one expected them to fight. Not yet, but when the devouring fleet appeared, Taeyong knew that plans meant nothing anymore. There are so many, whispered his wingman, a young pilot named Juri. Her voice was shaking. Taeyong looked at his screen. The numbers made his stomach turn. 1,000. 2,000. 5,000. The count kept going up. Ship after ship came out of hyperspace, filling the darkness with their terrible shapes. The enemy ships were black and sharp, like the teeth of some giant monster. They had no windows, no lights, no signs of life. They moved in perfect formation, silent and deadly. All ships, fall back, Taeyong ordered. We need to report this to the Admiral. They turned their ships and flew as fast as they could toward Earth, but the devouring fleet was faster. Before they could escape, 3 enemy ships broke from the formation and chased them. They are following us. Juri shouted. Evasive action. Split up and meet at point 7. The squadron scattered in different directions. Taeyong pushed his ship to its limits, dodging left and right. Behind him, an enemy ship fired its weapon. A beam of red light cut through space, missing him by a few meters. He heard screams on his radio. 2 of his pilots did not dodge in time. Their ships exploded into balls of fire. Then 3 more. Then 5 more. Keep moving, Taeyong yelled. Do not let them hit you. But the enemy was too fast, too accurate. More ships exploded. More pilots died. By the time they reached point 7, only 20 ships remained. Half his squadron was gone in just 5 minutes. Juri was crying. We cannot beat them. Their weapons are too strong. Taeyong felt the same fear, but he pushed it down. We are not dead yet. We learned something important today. What? Their ships are fast in a straight line, but slow when they turn. Did you see? When I changed direction quickly, they could not follow. Juri thought about it. You are right. They almost missed you when you turned. That is our advantage, Taeyong said. We are smaller. We can move faster. If we stay unpredictable, we can survive. He sent a message to Admiral Una with everything he had learned. The enemy had 10,000 ships. Their weapons were powerful, but they were not perfect. They could be beaten. Back on Earth, Yuna received the message. She shared it with all her commanders. You heard Captain Taeyang. The enemy is strong but not impossible. Use quick movements. Stay unpredictable. And do not fight them in straight lines. The first major battle came 6 hours later. The devouring fleet reached Mars orbit. They did not slow down. They did not try to communicate. They simply began to destroy everything in their path. Mining stations exploded. Research bases burned. Thousands of people died in the first hour. Admiral Yuna sent her first wave of ships. 500 vessels, led by Lieutenant Sunho. They met the enemy between Mars and Earth. Sunho was a young man with a calm face and steady hands. He had never commanded such a large battle before. But he was not afraid. Fear was a luxury he could not afford. All ships, remember your training, he said over the radio. Stay in small groups. Move quickly. Fire and retreat. Do not try to be heroes. The battle began. Energy beams filled the space between the fleets. Ships exploded on both sides. Sunho watched his screen as green dots disappeared one by one. Each dot was a ship. Each ship had people inside. Mothers, fathers, sons, daughters. All dying for their home. Focus fire on the nearest enemy ship. Sunho ordered. Concentrate everything on one target. 20 human ships turned their weapons on a single enemy vessel. Missiles flew through space. Lasers cut through the darkness. The enemy ship's shields flickered under the attack. Then something unexpected happened. The enemy shields turned off. For just 1 second, the shields disappeared completely. And in that second, 3 missiles got through. They hit the enemy ship directly. The black vessel cracked and exploded. Did you see that? Shouted one of Sunho's officers. The shields went down. Why? Sunho asked. What happened? An engineer on one of the ships answered. I think I understand, sir. Their shields are very strong, but they use a lot of power. When we hit them with too many weapons at once, the shields overload. They have to turn off for a moment to reset. Sunho felt hope for the first time since the battle began. So if we concentrate our fire, we can break through? Yes, sir. But we need many ships to fire at the same time. And we need to hit them during that 1 second when the shields are down. It was not easy. The timing had to be perfect. But it was possible. Sunho sent the information to Admiral Yuna. Within minutes, every human ship knew about the weakness. The battle changed. Instead of fighting alone, human ships formed groups of 10 or 20. They would fly close to an enemy ship, fire everything at once, and then scatter before the enemy could respond. It was dangerous. Many ships were destroyed. But slowly, enemy vessels began to fall. Captain Taeyang and his remaining pilots joined the fight. They moved like dancers through the enemy fleet, firing and retreating, never staying in one place. Hana's civilian pilots flew beside trained soldiers, their fear replaced by determination. The battle lasted for 12 hours. By the end, humanity had lost 200 ships. But the enemy had lost 50. It was not a victory. The devouring fleet still had thousands of ships. But it was something better. It was proof that the enemy could be hurt. When the battle ended, the enemy fleet stopped its advance. For the first time in recorded history, the devouring fleet did not immediately attack. They stayed in place, as if thinking, as if confused. Admiral Yuna watched them from her command center. She was tired. She had lost friends today. She had sent young people to their deaths. But she also felt something she had not expected to feel. Pride. They stopped, Down said, his voice full of wonder. They actually stopped. They are not used to this, Yuna said. Every other species ran away. We are the first to fight back. They do not know what to do. What happens now? Yuna looked at the red dots on her screen. Thousands of enemy ships waiting in the darkness. Soon they would attack again. And when they did, the real battle would begin. "Now we rest," she said. "We fix our ships. We honor our dead. And we prepare for the next fight." She turned to face her officers. They were young and scared and tired, but they were still fighting. "We hurt them today," she said. "We showed them that humanity is not easy prey. But this is just the beginning. The hard part is still to come. Are you ready?" Every officer stood tall and nodded. They were ready. The devouring fleet attacked Earth on the fourth day. 10,000 ships moved toward the blue planet like a dark cloud. Admiral Yuna watched them come from her command center. She had known this moment would arrive. She had prepared for it. But nothing could truly prepare a person to watch death approach. "All ships, take your positions," she ordered. "Ground forces, stand ready. This is what we have been waiting for. This is our final stand." In orbit around Earth, Lieutenant Sunho arranged his fleet. He had lost many ships in the first battle, but more had arrived from other parts of the solar system. Now he commanded 1,500 vessels. It was still not enough, but it was all they had. On the ground, General Nari stood in her bunker beneath the city of Seoul. She was a small woman with gray hair and eyes like iron. Her soldiers called her the Iron Lady because she never showed fear. Even now, with the enemy fleet filling the sky, her voice was calm. "All ground batteries, check your weapons," she said. "Anti-air teams, prepare for enemy landing ships. Infantry, protect the civilian shelters at all costs. If any enemy reaches the ground, we stop them. We do not let them hurt our people." The first wave of enemy ships hit Earth's defenses at noon. Sunho's fleet met them in orbit. The space around Earth became a storm of fire and metal. Ships exploded like fireworks. Energy beams cut through the darkness. The screams of dying pilots filled the radio channels. "Hold the line," Sunho shouted. "Do not let them through." His ships fought with everything they had. They used the weakness they had discovered, concentrating their fire on single targets. Enemy ships exploded. But for every enemy they killed, 5 human ships were lost. Captain Taeyang flew at the front of the battle. His squadron had been rebuilt with new pilots. Many of them were civilians who had trained with Hana just days ago. They were scared, but they followed him into the fire without question. "Stay with me," Taeyang called to them. "Watch my movements. When I turn, you turn. When I fire, you fire." They flew through the enemy fleet like birds through a storm. Their small ships dodged the heavy beams that could destroy larger vessels. They fired their missiles and lasers, hitting the enemy shields again and again until they broke. But the enemy learned too. They changed their tactics. They sent smaller, faster ships to chase the human fighters. They spread their formations so human ships could not concentrate their fire. They were not mindless monsters. They were intelligent killers. On the second day, enemy landing ships broke through the orbital defenses. General Nari watched them fall from the sky. They were huge black vessels, each carrying hundreds of enemy soldiers. She had never seen the enemy up close. No one had lived to tell about it. "Here they come," she said. "All forces, engage." The ground batteries fired. Missiles rose from hidden locations all across the planet. Many enemy ships were destroyed before they landed. But many more got through. The first enemy soldiers stepped onto Earth's soil in Australia. They were tall creatures covered in black armor. They had 4 arms and carried weapons that fired red light. They did not speak. They did not negotiate. They simply started killing. Human soldiers met them with guns and tanks and artillery. The fighting was brutal. For every enemy soldier killed, 10 humans fell. But for every 10 humans that fell, 20 more took their place. In Japan, A young soldier named Minji led her squad against a group of enemy fighters. She was only 20 years old. 6 months ago, she had been a university student studying art. Now she was a warrior. "Cover me," she yelled, running toward an enemy position. Bullets and energy beams flew past her. She threw a grenade into the enemy group. The explosion knocked 2 of them down. Then she was on them, fighting with her knife when her gun ran empty. She survived that day. Many of her friends did not. The battle continued for 11 days. On day 3, the enemy bombed Paris. The beautiful city burned. But the people in the shelters beneath it survived. On day 5, enemy ships destroyed the orbital station where Commander Junho worked. He died trying to evacuate his crew. His last words were, "Tell my daughter I love her." On day 7, General Nari was wounded when a bomb hit her bunker. She refused to go to the hospital. She commanded her forces from a wheelchair, her voice still calm and strong. On day 9, Admiral Yuna ordered a desperate attack. Every remaining ship flew directly at the enemy command vessel. It was suicide for most of them. But they broke through. They destroyed the command vessel. And for a few hours, the enemy fleet was confused and disorganized. On day 10, Hannah died. She was flying with her civilian pilots, protecting a transport ship carrying children to safety. An enemy fighter got through their defense. Hannah flew her ship between the enemy and the transport. The enemy beam hit her instead. Her last words were, "Get those children home." The transport ship escaped. 200 children survived because of her. On day 11, something changed. The enemy fleet began to retreat. At first, no one believed it. Lieutenant Sunho watched his screens, certain it was a trick. But the enemy ships were really leaving. They turned away from Earth and flew back into deep space. Admiral Yuna stood at her window, watching them go. She did not feel happy. She was too tired for happiness. She had lost too many people. She had seen too much death. Why are they leaving? Dowan asked. We did not defeat them. They still had thousands of ships. Yuna thought about it for a long time. Because they were not expecting this, she finally said. For thousands of years, every species ran from them. No one ever fought back. They were not prepared for war. They were prepared for slaughter. So they gave up? No, Yuna said. They decided we were not worth the cost. We hurt them. We killed their soldiers and destroyed their ships. We made them pay for every inch of ground they took. And in the end, they decided it was easier to leave and find easier prey. She turned to face her officers. Many were wounded. All were exhausted. But they were alive. We did not win this battle with strength, she said. We won it with will. We showed them that some things are worth dying for. We showed them that humanity will never surrender. Outside the window, the sun rose over Earth. The planet was damaged. Cities had burned. Millions had died. But humanity was still standing. They had survived. 1 month after the battle, the Galactic Council returned. Their ships came slowly, carefully, as if afraid of what they might find. Ambassador Krill led the delegation. He had expected to see a dead world, a burned planet with no life left on it. That was what always happened when the devouring fleet visited a planet, but Earth was still there. The planet was wounded. From space, Krill could see the scars. Black marks where cities had burned. Craters where bombs had fallen. The oceans were darker with ash and dust. But there were lights on the surface. There were ships in orbit. There were radio signals carrying human voices. Humanity had survived. This is impossible, Krill whispered. His 4 eyes were wide with shock. No species has ever survived the devouring fleet. No one. His assistant, a small creature named Vela, checked her instruments. The readings are correct, Ambassador. Approximately 7 billion humans are still alive. Their civilization is damaged but functioning. Krill could not understand. For thousands of years, the pattern had been the same. The devouring fleet arrived. Species ran away. Those who could not run were destroyed. It was the way of the galaxy. It was the law of survival. But humans had broken that law. He requested permission to land on Earth. The response came from Admiral Una herself. "You may land, Ambassador. We have been expecting you." Krill's shuttle touched down in what remained of Sol. The city had been badly damaged. Buildings were broken. Streets were filled with rubble. But people were already working to rebuild. Humans with tired faces and bandaged wounds moved through the streets, carrying supplies and helping the wounded. Admiral Una met him at the landing pad. She looked older than Krill remembered. Her white hair was thinner. Her face had new lines, but her eyes were still sharp and strong. Behind her stood the survivors. Captain Taeyong, who had led the fighter squadrons through impossible battles. Lieutenant Sunho, who had commanded the orbital defense against overwhelming odds. General Nari, still in her wheelchair, but still commanding respect from everyone around her. And thousands of soldiers, pilots, and civilians who had fought for their world. "Ambassador," Una said, "welcome back." Krill did not know what to say. He had prepared a speech about mourning and loss. He had expected to find ruins and ash. Instead, he found a people who had done the impossible. How? He finally asked. His voice was barely a whisper. "How did you survive?" Una looked at him for a long moment. Then she turned to face the city behind her. The broken buildings, the working people, the flags that still flew despite everything. "We had no choice," she said simply. "But the devouring fleet has destroyed hundreds of worlds," Krill insisted. "Species with better weapons. Species with more ships. Species with thousands of years more experience than humanity. They all fell. How did you, the youngest species in the galaxy, survive?" Una turned back to face him. "Because we understood something they did not." "What?" "That some things cannot be given up. That some fights must be fought, even when you cannot win. That dying on your feet is better than living on your knees." Krill thought about his own people. When the warning came, they had run. They had left their homes and fled to the edges of the galaxy. They had survived, yes, but they had abandoned everything they had built. "We were afraid," he admitted. "We thought running was the only way." "Running is sometimes wise," Una said, "but not always. Sometimes you must stand and fight. Not because you think you can win, but because losing without fighting is worse than death." She gestured to the people around her. "Look at them. They lost family. They lost friends. They lost their homes and their cities. But they did not lose their spirit. They did not lose their pride. And now they are rebuilding. In 10 years, this city will be beautiful again. In 100 years, Earth will be stronger than ever. Because we learned something important." "What did you learn?" "That we are not victims. We are not prey. We are humans. And we fight." Krill stayed on Earth for 3 days. He visited the hospitals where wounded soldiers recovered. He walked through the shelters where children had hidden during the battle. He met the families of those who had died. Everywhere he went, he saw the same thing. Grief, yes. Loss, yes. But also strength. Also hope. Also a fierce determination to survive and rebuild. On his last day, he attended a memorial ceremony for the dead. Millions of humans had died in the battle. Their names were read aloud one by one. It took hours. Krill listened to every name, feeling the weight of their sacrifice. When the ceremony ended, he spoke to Lieutenant Sunho. "Do you regret it?" he asked. "Do you regret staying to fight instead of running?" Sun Ho thought about the question carefully. He had lost many friends in the battle. He had watched ships explode with people he knew inside them. He had nightmares about the screams on the radio. "No," he said finally. "I do not regret it. We did what we had to do. We protected our home. We protected each other. That is worth any price." Before Krill left, he made a promise to Admiral Yuna. "The Galactic Council will remember what you did," he said. "We will tell your story to every species in the galaxy. They will know that humanity stood alone against the devouring fleet and survived. They will know that you are not a young, weak species to be ignored. They will know that you are warriors." Yuna smiled. It was a tired smile, but a real one. "Tell them this," she said. "Tell them that we do not want war. We want peace. We want to trade and explore and learn, like we always did. But tell them also that we are not afraid. If anyone threatens our home again, we will fight. And we will never stop fighting until we win or until we are dead." Krill nodded. He understood now. Humans were different from other species. Not stronger, not smarter, not better equipped, but different in their hearts, in their souls. They had something that other species had lost or never had. They had the will to fight for what they loved. Dodd, as his ship rose into the sky, Krill looked down at Earth one last time. The small blue planet that had faced the greatest enemy in the galaxy and survived. The young species that had taught the old ones what courage really meant. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. In the years that followed, humans rebuilt their world. They also rebuilt their fleet, making it stronger than before. Other species began to visit Earth, wanting to learn from the people who had done the impossible. Some wanted to trade. Some wanted to form alliances. Some just wanted to meet the warriors who had made the devouring fleet run. Admiral Yuna retired 5 years after the battle. She spent her remaining days in a small house by the sea, watching the waves and remembering those who had fallen. When she died, peacefully in her sleep, millions of people across the galaxy mourned her. Her last words, spoken to her granddaughter, were simple. "We fought because we loved." Never forget that. When you love something, you fight for it. Always. And humanity never forgot.